All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Doug Platts. I head up operations at Gardenuity. We are super excited to put on this pepper party as part of our Patio to Plate series. We've been putting on virtual events for the last few weeks. With shelter in place and with everyone taking into account social distancing. There's definitely been a shift in how people are engaging and interacting with each other. And virtual events have been a real powerful way for us to connect with people all across the US. Our Patio to Plate series is really talking about how you can bring the benefits of gardening from both the wellness side, but also the things that you grow and harvest to the kitchen, and really thinking about unique ways in which you can use the things that you grow. We've been partnering with mixologists, and today we're partnering with Chef Katy Lopez as well. Everybody's eating habits have changed slightly. We're not going to restaurants as much. We're trying to explore new things and trying to learn to cook more and more at home. And so this is going to be, I'm really looking forward to this session with Katy to both learn how to create a real unique margarita, as well as some exciting food as well. Pepper season is upon us, and Donna Letier, the co-founder and CEO of Gardenuity, is going to really talk about the different types of peppers that are available and different ways that we can use them, but also how to grow them successfully as well. A little bit about Gardenuity. We are a company based in Dallas, and we ship container gardens across the US. Our container gardens are custom to each individual and the plants that you are growing, and we specialize in growing things you can eat. So think herbs, salads, leafy greens, vegetables, all the fun things that everyone wants to grow right now, so they can make sure that they're bringing a little bit green into every meal as well. Along with myself and Donna from Gardenuity, we've also got Kate, who's going to be cooking along with us. Kate, you want to give us a wave? And then along with Katy, we have got some brave souls who have volunteered to be on screen while we mix along and cook along with Chef Katy Lopez as well. So super excited about that. If you haven't already checked us out, you can find us at gardenuity.com. Also check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. You'll find lots of great recipes there, as well as lots of gardening advice. So just as a reminder, if you have any questions, please do submit them. You can either do that through the Q&A or the chat function. I will be monitoring both of those. As each of our panelists are talking, I'll throw those over to them as well. And any we don't get to, we'll cover off at the end. I'm also recording this session, and we'll share that afterwards. Everyone has the recipes and the and links to Katy's articles on what we're going to be covering off today in the email and in the calendar invite, so you can check them out there as well. But if you do need those as well, I can ping those through chat as well. So that's everything from me right now. Kate, I wanted to hand that over to you.
Hey guys. So Katy and my husband Jeff grew up together. So for years I heard all about and also experienced firsthand her amazingly delicious culinary creations. So given the current global situation and people looking for more activities to do from home, I thought Katy would be perfect to pull in for a virtual event with the launch of our new Some Like It Hot garden. The garden features a variety of peppers. And so I asked Katy if she could come up with some fun mocktail recipes and cocktail recipes, as well as food dishes, and walk us through how to create those tonight. So Katy, we're super glad that you're here, and I'm going to pass it over to you to give a little bit of background information and get the cooking started.
Thanks. I'm Katy Lopez. I was a caterer for a million years before I had teeny tiny children, and decided that that was just too insane to try and do at the same time. And these days I have a blog, katyscookin.com, COOKIN.com, and an Instagram page where I share recipes and different things that I'm cooking at the time and things that I like. I've had kind of wanted to gear mainly towards entertaining when I started my blog, and then COVID hit and nobody's entertaining. So I'm doing a lot more at-home recipes, at-home cocktails, because we are really very social people that love to go out and have great craft cocktails, but don't typically make a ton of craft cocktails at home. So we've been doing a lot of experimenting with fresh produce and fresh herbs to make really great cocktails at home. And it's kind of surprising how when you put a teeny bit of effort into it, it's much better than just a mixed drink that you pour at home and have kind of a watered down cocktail if you actually go through the steps of doing everything correctly. So we've really been enjoying that. And then we're going to make a really delicious, bright kind of summer salad that's an arugula salad with a really fresh, spicy jalapeno lemon vinaigrette and a good creamy ball of burrata right in the middle that you can eat as an appetizer and share with 2 people, or you could eat as a main course. It's really good if you pair it alongside some crusty bread so that you can kind of sop up all the good vinaigrette and all the creamy burrata that's left on the plate. But anyways, let's get started. We're going to first do the cocktail recipe. We're going to do the jalapeno cucumber margarita so that everybody that is making stuff along with us can make their cocktail and have their cocktail to drink through the rest of our kind of talk here on Zoom. And then if you're not making the salad, then just sip away and enjoy what we're doing. So to start off with, the ingredients that are going to go into our cocktail, well, the equipment that you need actually are a cocktail shaker and a muddler. And I was going to say, if you do not have these 2 things at home, you can still make this recipe. The muddler is great because it really extracts the juice from the jalapenos and the cucumbers, which is really what gives this cocktail a lot of its really good fresh flavor. But if you don't have it, I would just take a wooden spoon or something that fits inside of a glass that's not going to break when you start to kind of smash things into it, and really just make sure you smash together all of the fresh produce so that all of the juice kind of comes out and it can get into your cocktail. And if you don't have a cocktail shaker, another little trick you can do is if you have 2 cups, if one's larger than the other, invert it into the cup and you can use that as a cocktail shaker as well. But the cucumber jalapeno margarita has fresh sliced jalapenos in it, fresh cucumbers, agave nectar, fresh lime juice that we'll squeeze in just a little bit, Cointreau, tequila, and it all gets shaken together and poured over ice and then served with a salt-rimmed glass with some garnish on top.
And Katy,
start with our cocktail shaker.
One quick question, do you have a number 1 go-to tequila?
So I really love, I'm not a huge fan of aged tequilas, so I really love to make cocktails with Blanco tequila. I am a big fan of Casamigos. We buy De Leon Blanco, the Herradura. If you're mixing it into a margarita, you do not need to have the best quality tequila, but you also don't want something that's going to be a really cheap tequila that's going to kind of take away from making a craft cocktail. You want something that's going to be a quality tequila, but not have a really, really overpowering flavor. I like Blanco. It's not aged. It's aged for a few weeks. It's not aged for all that long. Reposado is the next longest aging period, and they're aged for about 60 days to a year. Añejo is aged from a year to about 3 years, and that's going to make it really dark and have the kind of all the flavors that come through the aging process that would give this much more of a strong tequila flavor. But in my opinion, I think that this fresh cocktail is better with the Blanco. So I'm going to use Casamigos today. I used De Leon when I actually wrote the recipe. I think it tastes pretty much the same as long as you go with a good quality Blanco tequila.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start with our cocktail shaker, and you're going to put 3 to 4 slices of fresh jalapenos in the bottom of your cocktail shaker, which I already have these cut. So if I'm going too fast for anybody that's doing this at home, just let me know. And then a 1/4 cup of fresh cucumbers that I've just diced, and they don't have to be perfectly cut because they're going to get smashed up into bits. And you can eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. You really just want like kind of a small handful.
And
so
Katy,
we put that into our
Quick question with chopping jalapenos while people are doing that as they're following along. Any recommendations to avoid getting it on your fingers, touching your face? Obviously, with COVID and all that, we're not touching anything anyway. So what do you recommend?
I read something funny actually during this, that a way to train yourself to not touch your face is to touch jalapenos all day, and you'll learn very quickly not to touch your eyes or your mouth or your nose. I typically, if you're holding the outside of the jalapeno, you're not going to get the juices on your hand that's going to make them kind of stay spicy. So just make sure you're holding the outside of the jalapeno, and when you cut it, know that the ribs and the seeds are going to be the spiciest part. So if you go to pick up a seed and put it to the side, you're going to have a lot of spice on your hand. That's also a good note. If you're really sensitive to spicy, you might cut the seeds and the ribs out of the jalapenos before you start this recipe so that it's not as hot. But I like spice, so I'm going to go with the full jalapeno.
So that's another question we got. We've got tons of great questions. Everyone love these questions. Keep sending them in. When you're slicing jalapenos for this recipe, are you removing the seeds, or is that an option depending on how spicy you want it?
No,
right.
You can if you want it less spicy, but if you want, since this is not going to sit in the shaker for all that long, you kind of want the seeds and ribs in there so that you can get some quick spicy flavor into the cocktail if
Perfect.
You like heat. I would think, though, if you're not really a big fan of heat, you're probably not going to make a cucumber jalapeno margarita. But it would be really delicious without the jalapeno altogether if you are really sensitive to spicy. Okay, so I've got the cucumber and the jalapeno in my shaker, and then we're going to take the agave nectar and do 2 teaspoons, which you can totally eyeball this. I'm going to go with measuring it just for a good kind of measure, make sure we get the right amount. So you put that into the cocktail shaker, and then you're going to take your muddler and you're going to really grind up the bits that are into the bottom of this cocktail shaker. And you'll see it start to kind of come apart and it'll get juicier. But putting the agave nectar in there first is going to kind of help it adhere to all of the pieces of the produce that's in the bottom of your shaker so that you can get it good and juicy, because that's the portion when you strain the cocktail, the juice is what's going to give you the flavor in it.
Katie, is it okay if we really like spice, can we substitute agave with jalapeno simple syrup?
Totally. And simple syrup in general can be swapped out for this recipe. I like agave nectar because it technically makes it a skinny margarita. There's not a ton of added sugar, but you can do simple syrup. You could also infuse your tequila with jalapenos if you really like spicy, and just let the jalapenos sit in the tequila for an hour up to a year. You know, it's not going to go bad, but it will continue to get hotter and hotter as it sits in the tequila.
So we've done jalapeno honey. Can you do jalapeno agave?
Ooh. I'm sure you could. I have never done jalapeno agave, but it would work the exact same way. So I wouldn't see why not.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like agave in this one because I think that it just works really well with the tequila. But honey does not dilute as well when you mix it into things. It's a lot thicker. And so we're going to use it in the salad dressing. It's going to go in the blender, so it'll get nice and mixed into it. But in this cocktail, because agave is a little bit thinner, it's going to mix up really well with all of the rest of the liquid in the cocktail.
And it was two teaspoons of agave, yeah?
Yes. Perfect. So if you can see, I'll kind of reach this forward. It's good and liquidy in there. So at this point, we are going to add our lime juice. We need 2 ounces of fresh squeezed lime juice, which I have already squeezed. So tell me if you need me to slow down. But I just use a citrus squeezer. A good citrus squeezer is something that's really nice to have. It does a really good job of getting all of the juice out of even really stubborn citrus fruits. So I squeezed all of my lime juice into a measuring cup ahead of time. And it's a good thing to do if you're going to make more than 1 round of these, to do it all at once and have it prepped and ready to go, so that as you're making drinks, you're not doing a bunch of them at the same time.
And Katie, while people are doing a bit of juicing, one question we've got is, can you just confirm what your website was again, that people can find other drink ideas?
Yes.
Donna, I know you've got a few on yours, so I'll let you reference that.
It's www.katyscookin.com, KATYSCOOKIN.com.
And Donna, I know Gardenuity has a whole bunch of cocktails. What's the best way to find?
You know what? We'll send all this out. We'll post it. We've got a blog in on our site. So no need to take tons of notes. Let's just enjoy it.
Okay. Okay, so our 2 ounces of lime juice is going to go into our cocktail shaker. We're going to add 2 ounces of tequila. And then we're going to add 1 ounce of the Cointreau.
So Katie, I have a question for you. Is there a method to the order that we're doing everything? Because I feel like sometimes
So you're gonna want to make sure that you muddle the cucumber and jalapenos first with the agave, but the order of the liquor and the lime juice really doesn't matter, because it's all gonna go into the shaker together and get completely mixed together. Okay, so I've got my tequila already added in, and I'm gonna add in my 1 ounce of Cointreau. And then we're gonna fill the shaker all the way to the top with ice before we shake it. My ice is kind of stuck together.
So Katie, here's a question, because I think when we entertain, and that's part of patio to plate, being able to really enjoy things that you're growing on your patio and having a part of entertaining. Can you do this as a big batch cocktail so that you're not constantly at the bar as guests come in?
Yes, I would. So when I make margaritas as a big batch cocktail, I like to actually get the lime juice already fresh squeezed at Central Market. A lot of grocery stores will do it, but in their produce section, they sell little like pints, quarts of fresh juice. I've actually gotten it by the gallon before for large parties if you order it through their customer service. But that saves you a ton of time so that you already have it all done. But you can totally do this in a batch. The one thing that I would say is to make sure that when you're storing it, I would not have any ice in it. I would just keep the pitcher of everything already strained and ready to go so it doesn't dilute down.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we've got all the ice filled to the top in our cocktail shaker. We're gonna put the top on. And you really want to shake this for a good like 30, 45 seconds. You want it to get, you know, you kind of start to feel silly when you're shaking a cocktail shaker for a long time, and you get why bartenders do the kind of like up and down and back and forth. But you want it to get so cold that it almost hurts to hold it, because you don't want the liquor to dilute the ice in the cup once you've poured the cocktail mixture over the ice. So you want it to get as cold as possible. So here we go. The best part. As everybody shakes their cocktail.
And so Katie, while people are shaking away, any other recommendations on how peppers can be used for cocktails, in other cocktails?
Yeah, my brother likes to infuse tequilas with habanero peppers, which I think are a little bit too spicy for most people. But you can do really any type of pepper in there. You could do serranos, you could roast a pepper and then infuse your liquor with the roasted pepper to give it a nice kind of smoky flavor. Lots of different cocktails have spice in them. I find most of the time it's jalapenos because it's a more palatable spice for most people. Okay, so my cocktail shaker is good and cold. So we're gonna take the top off. I'm gonna set it aside for just a second and we're gonna do our glasses. So take your cocktail glasses, and you're gonna wanna take, you can use the limes that you've already juiced. It doesn't have to be a fresh lime. Just take one of the sides of it and run it all the way around the rim of your cocktail glasses just to get some juice on there. And then invert it into, I've got just like a little plate of salt to salt your rim. And we've got salted glass. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one for the mocktail at the same time. Okay, so our glasses are ready to go. We're gonna fill them to the top with ice. And then we're gonna add our garnish to the glass, which you can really pick any of the things that we've used in the recipe. I like to do all three. I think it just adds kind of a fun, pretty trio of green produce. So we're gonna add a slice of jalapeno. But I will say, when you have the slice of jalapeno on the side of your cup, be careful not to stick that directly into your mouth or it will be very spicy. So I've got jalapeno on there. I'm gonna add a lime slice to each one.
And do you have a recommendation on a type of cucumber?
You know, either work. I used English cucumbers today, but a regular cucumber works fine. Because we're straining out all of the liquid, it's not gonna really matter if you have, all of the particles of the produce. It's gonna be fine if you use a seeded cucumber versus a non-seeded cucumber. So I would say go with whatever you have.
Right.
Okay, and then let's add our slices of cucumber. And we're gonna take, I'm using a bartender strainer only because the top of my cocktail shaker is for some reason completely stuck on the top. But if you have a cocktail shaker, just take the top off and pour it out. But we're gonna take the cocktail shaker and pour our cocktail over ice. Ooh, as it spills a little bit. And there you have it, Cucumber Jalapeno Margarita. And you can see there's like little bits of green floating around in there. That's gonna be like the skin of the cucumber and the jalapenos, and it's gonna give it a little bit more zest as it sits in there. But cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh, Kylie, that looks good.
I also put in a couple of leaves of fresh mint, because when you
Yum.
go in to take the sip, all the spice and the nice mint aroma is really lovely.
Yum. Rosemary would be really good too. Or basil. Really, most herbs I feel like would work with this cocktail.
I agree. It's delicious.
Really good. Thanks. Okay, so for the mocktail, we're gonna basically, I'm gonna just run through that real quick for anybody that's not having alcohol with us tonight. We do basically the same process. We're gonna put the same 3 to 4 jalapeno slices in the bottom of our cocktail shaker, our 1/4 cup of cucumbers, and our agave. And we're gonna muddle this up just like we did the other one. The only difference in this recipe is we are gonna skip the alcohol, obviously. And we're gonna add Topo Chico to the top of it just to give it a nice kind of like fuzzy, fun cocktail. I kind of find that if a mocktail is not carbonated in some way, it kind of just seems like you're drinking a cup of juice, which is not very exciting if you're trying to have a mocktail. So we're gonna muddle this all up together and get it good and juicy. And the only liquid that's gonna go into our cocktail shaker is our 2 ounces of lime juice. So we'll take 2 ounces of lime juice. And we're gonna mix this all together. This one you don't have to shake because it doesn't have liquor in it. It's not gonna melt the ice really fast when you pour it into the glass. So I'm just gonna mix this to make sure all of those cucumber and jalapeno juices and the agave mixes up with the lime juice. And then we are going to strain this, if I can find my strainer, over the ice. And this would make two mocktails. So pour half of the liquid from your cocktail shaker in here. And then take your Topo Chico and pour it right over the top. And there's your mocktail jalapeno margarita, jalapeno cucumber margarita.
It's awesome.
That's good. This is a really like great, refreshing drink that if you're, say, pregnant and you want to actually feel like you're having a margarita, it's a good one.
Katie, we've done cucumbers with the jalapenos. Are there any other things that you would recommend adding with the jalapenos other than cucumbers?
Yeah, you could totally do this as a watermelon margarita and muddle the watermelon in place of the cucumber to make that really good. I think that a mango jalapeno margarita would be really good. You could use fresh mango or you could use mango nectar. You could mix that into your cocktail. You wouldn't need a ton of the mango nectar because it's really sweet, and I would probably skip the agave in both of those, the watermelon or the mango, because it would probably be too sweet since those are sweet on their own. But yeah, really, pineapple would be great too. Most citrus fruits, I would think most tropical fruits would be a good addition if you're going to skip the cucumber and go spicy.
Okay, you can also do, we've got a recipe for a kale margarita that sounds daunting, but it's actually a great way to get your greens. And it's really
so do you
tasty.
juice the kale?
You do, and it's really good. You kind of do it like the cucumbers, and it's got a nice flavor to it. It's really good.
Yum, I love that. I'll have to try it. Okay, I'm going to switch my stuff a little bit. So if you guys have any questions while doing this, I'm gonna move some things around so that we can get the vinaigrette going.
Yeah, and Donna, this is a question one of the attendees has asked. What are a couple of underappreciated peppers that people should be considering that you're familiar with?
Well, the one thing about the peppers, if you don't like it spicy, if you harvest it all peppers start out green on the vine, no matter what. But as jalapenos start on the vine, they start green, and as they stay longer on the vine, they turn red. The red ones are milder in flavor than the green ones. So, I think there's so many different kinds of peppers. I'm also, my favorite pepper right now that Scott's roasting is Shishito Peppers. And Shishito Peppers, I think I first discovered them in California a few years ago. And they're not, you're seeing them in restaurants all over the place, but right now they're delicious and easy to make and really a great pepper. I've never done any kind of a cocktail with it, but Scott just roasted them with a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper, and they're not too spicy. The average is 1 in 10 Shishito peppers is really spicy. Other than that, they're really tasty.
Yum. That sounds great.
Yeah, they're really good.
Okay. We are all kind of set up over here. If you guys are ready, everybody that's following along.
Let's go.
Are we good? All right. Okay, so this is going to be really the main component of things that you have to work for this recipe is just the vinaigrette. And it's a really good kind of fresh, lemon forward, a little bit spicy vinaigrette that has a little bit of cilantro in there. And if you're a cilantro hater, just leave it out. It's fine. The recipe will be great without it. You could replace it with basil if you wanted. It would be really good with basil, and it would probably be really good with mint. I've never done it with mint, but mint works really well with watermelon and creamy cheeses. So I think that it would probably be great as well. I know there's people that hate cilantro, but I do think that it gives this vinaigrette a really good green color and a really good herby kind of backup flavor to the jalapenos and the lemons. So
cilantro, Katie, is actually one of those vegetables. Vegetables are known to have seasons, right? And a lot of times the earlier the vegetable in the season, the more robust their flavor and freshness. Cilantro has a short season. So if you're growing it, enjoy it while you can, because it has about a 4 to 5 week season to it.
Okay. Interesting. It's one of those things that people, I think, love or hate, because some people, when they eat cilantro, say that it tastes like soap, which I'm not one of those people. Really? Okay. So I'm not one of those people. So that completely just like does not make sense to me, but I've heard it from so many people that I know for sure that's a fact. I have family members that my aunt hates cilantro, and anything that has cilantro in the recipe, she usually is like, nope, not for me. So I wanted to throw in there a little change up of what herbs you could use if you don't like cilantro.
Thai basil is a great replacement.
Okay.
Or parsley, Italian parsley.
Yeah. Parsley is a great replacement for this one also, because it still gives the really good green flavor, but parsley's pretty mild, so you're not going to get a ton of added change to the vinaigrette flavor. So I would recommend that also. So for the vinaigrette, we are going to, of course, have jalapenos, fresh jalapenos that I have removed the ribs and the seeds from, because this is going to get blended. You really, unless you like things very, very, very hot, I would suggest taking the seeds and the ribs out, or it's going to be really light your palate on fire hot. So I have taken them out, and I've just given them a rough chop. They don't have to look perfect. You just want to get the seeds and ribs off. They're going to go into the blender, so no big deal if they don't look great. So we've got fresh jalapenos. We're going to zest a lemon and put the zest of the whole lemon into the vinaigrette. Zest of citrus fruits gives it a really good punch of flavor beyond the juice, because it's going to have the oil from the fruit in it. You just want to make sure that when you're zesting it, that you just take off the color of whatever citrus you're zesting and don't get down into, I've already zested this one so you can see it, but you don't want to get down into the white pulp, because it's really bitter. So we've got lemon zest, lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, cilantro, apple cider vinegar to add a little bit of vinegar taste. It's a little bit sweeter and it kind of mellows out the vinaigrette, or the lemon flavor in the vinaigrette. Some honey to make it a little bit thicker, a little bit sweet, and it adds kind of a little bit of depth, because honey is a good kind of sweetener without just a raw sugar flavor. some salt, and olive oil. And this vinaigrette makes a lot, I will warn you. It makes about 1.5 cups to 2 cups, depending on how good you are at measuring when you're going through, if you're not just eyeballing. But it's
and
something
will it
that
last
I
a while in the fridge?
Yeah, it's good. I would say I usually keep it in the fridge for up to about 7 days. And so I'll just use it on salads throughout the week. But it's nice if you're going to go to all the work of getting a blender out and getting it dirty to make a batch of it so that you can kind of pull it out and use for different things. I've got a couple suggestions of things that you can use the vinaigrette for also that I'll save at the end. But anyways, it's all of this fresh stuff. We're going to put it all into the blender. It all gets pulverized, and then while the blender is running, we're going to add the oil so that it can emulsify. But this is not a very oil heavy. It says that the recipe calls for 1/2 cup of olive oil, which seems like a lot, but in terms of vinaigrette, usually there's more oil than there is acid. And so since this has less, it's going to be a big batch of the vinaigrette. You're not going to have a ton of oil in your portion of the dressing. So if you guys are ready, we'll go ahead and get started. I've juiced my limes, so if I'm going to, or my lemons, if I'm going too fast, totally let me know. Into the bottom of the blender, we're gonna put our jalapenos and our cilantro, and you wanna put this stuff in the bottom just to make sure that it gets good and chopped up. And then we are going to add our lemon zest, and I will go ahead and zest. I've zested some of it, but just so that we do this along together. When you're zesting citrus also with a microplane, be very careful of your knuckles. I have zested my knuckles off before, and it is really awful, especially because you're using citrus while you're doing it, and then it goes into the cut. So be really careful. We're gonna zest the whole thing, and it'll give you about 1 tablespoon of lemon zest when you're done with a full lemon. And don't worry about, I mean, lemons are different sizes. If you look at these are completely different size lemons. It's not going to make a difference if you have the zest of one large lemon versus a small lemon. You don't have to be exact with this. So.
I like it when you don't have to be exact.
Me too, which is why I'm not huge into baking. Okay, so I've got pretty much all of the good yellow color off of this lemon. Tap the back of it because a lot of the zest will stick to the back of your microplane. You can kind of bang it on your bowl. It'll come out. And I cheated a little bit and did have some already done. So we're going to put the lemon zest into the blender as well. Move these guys to the side. We're going to add our lemon juice, and you need 3/4 cup of fresh lemon juice that I have already juiced. I have a little bit extra, so I'm not going to use this entire thing. So our lemon juice is going to go in. Our apple cider vinegar is going to go in at 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar that I already have measured out. 4 tablespoons of honey. And this also is not something that has to be super exact. You really just want to get enough in there to give it a good flavor, and it's going to stick to your measuring spoon. Don't worry about it. You can just squeeze 4 dollops in there and you're good to go. So we've got the honey in. Let's see, let's make sure I've got everything. Cilantro's in, jalapenos in, lemon zest, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, honey, salt. We need 1 teaspoon of salt. This is another thing that we're not going to measure. We're just going to take a good pinch of salt, throw it in, and then we're going to go ahead and blend it before we put the oil in. So my apologies if this is loud. It's not going to be very long. So once you start to see, can you guys hear me okay?
You bet.
Okay, once you start to see all of the green bits becoming really, really small, you know that you're at a good point to add your oil in. So we're going to turn it down lower so it doesn't spit on us.
Hey, Katie, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
This might be silly. Can you substitute lime juice for lemon juice in this?
Totally, totally. I would probably do a little bit less because they don't have as much sweet component as lemons, but you could totally make it a lime vinaigrette as well. Okay, so I'm gonna drizzle the half a cup of olive oil in with it going. Also not gonna measure it, but because this is a brand new bottle, I'm gonna be able to see how far down I've poured. Whoa, that would have been funny if I had just cranked it up and covered myself in vinaigrette. Okay, so there you have it. This is our vinaigrette, and it's not thick, which I like for a summer salad dressing. It's pretty watery, I guess you could call it, but it's really good on top of things that are a really light salad with citrus in it. So I'm gonna pour this into a jar. And if you want it thicker, you can totally add more oil. I just don't think it really needs it. So why waste the calories when you could drink more margaritas? Okay, so we're gonna take our plate and start building our salad now that we've got the dressing done. So I've just got a box of arugula. It's gonna go straight onto our plate. It doesn't need to be perfect. It says 2 to 3 cups, but really it's whatever size salad you wanna make. So we're gonna spread this bed of arugula across our plate. Get a nice.
Katie, one of the vegetables that's really beautiful right now is the nasturtium. And people used to think it was just the flowers that were edible, but actually the leaves really taste just like arugula. They're beautiful, and you can chop them up, and they've got that nice bite to them. So nasturtium leaves are great in this salad.
That's why I like arugula for this salad. You could use a different green, but I like that it's a little bit bitter because the vinaigrette's going to be sweet. The watermelon's sweet. We're going to add a little bit of balsamic glaze on there. So the good bitter green is nice, but you could totally do this with, I wouldn't probably recommend spinach because the dressing is thin. So on spinach, it's just going to kind of run off and it's not going to look all that great. But you could do it with chopped romaine, with any type of like good leafy green salad. A kale would be really nice. So I've got my plate of arugula. That's just a bed of arugula. And we're gonna take our dressing and just kind of drizzle it all around. There we go. And then we are going to, let me get rid of this. We are going to add our salad toppings. So burrata is a really good creamy cheese. It's kind of like a mozzarella that has a melty is not the right word, but a creamy center, just a little bit runny. So it's great for putting on things like pizzas and salads where you can break it apart really easily and just kind of spread the creaminess all over your salad or whatever you're eating. I really love it. So I've got a ball of fresh burrata, fresh watermelon that I've got cubed already, ready to go. And then almonds that I have, they're just sliced almonds that I've toasted. And to toast the almonds, you just take a dry pan, no oil, nothing in it, throw the sliced almonds in there and turn it on medium heat. And when you start to smell the almonds, it'll be like 2 or 3 minutes. Give them a good shake, let the next portion that falls to the bottom get toasted, give it another shake and turn the pan off. It's really quick. The second you start to smell them is when they're gonna be at the perfect cooking point. And if you continue to cook them, they're gonna burn and they're not great. So we're gonna take our almonds. Actually, let's do watermelon first. We're going to scatter the watermelon all over our bed of arugula that's dressed. And then take your ball of burrata, and you just have to kind of get it out of the liquid that it comes in. And it's just like a nice little pillowy ball of cheese. So set it right in the middle and then sprinkle the rest of your salad with the almonds. And really this is a preference of however much crunch you like in your salad. All good salads, I think, have a good crunchy component in it. And if you don't want to have it be a crouton or a piece of bread or something, nuts are a really good addition to give it crunch. So we're gonna spread those all around. And then I like to take the vinaigrette and hit all those pieces of watermelon with a little bit of flavor. So you make sure you get all of that in one bite. I'm just gonna kind of drizzle all over the watermelon.
And Katy,
And then,
for the cheese, any other substitutes that you'd recommend?
yeah, feta would be really great with this, a crumbled feta. You could do blocks feta and cut it in little cubes and kind of put that around the watermelon. Mozzarella would work. It doesn't have a ton of flavor. If I was gonna do mozzarella, I would probably buy those little teeny pearl balls of mozzarella to put on the salad so you can get a good portion with each bite. But you also could just do shaved Parmesan. Any kind of like salty cheese would be good to kind of balance out the acid and sweet and creamy of the other components.
And if you didn't, if you wanted to substitute the cheese altogether, is that a whole different thing, or any recommendations on that front?
You could totally add a nice piece of like grilled fish to the top of the salad without cheese. I wouldn't do them together, the fish and the cheese. But if you weren't going to do the burrata, you could grill a piece of fish, put it on there. You could do grilled chicken breast or rotisserie chicken breast if you really just want an easy, quick dinner. Just pull it off the bones and shred it up to go on the salad. But I probably wouldn't do a cheese substitute, but I also really like cheese and don't really like cheese substitutes, so I'm not the perfect person to put on that task. Okay, so we've got everything on there except for our balsamic glaze, and you do not have to have a really fancy balsamic glaze. This gives it a nice little bite at the end, but it's really honestly for some good color. It makes a really pretty presentation. So we're just gonna drizzle it across the top of our salad, a zigzag pattern, and there you got it. There's your
That's beautiful.
arugula and burrata summer salad. Oh, Kylie, beautiful. I love it. Nice, Kim. Trying to see everybody. Oh, yum, yum, yum. I love it.
That looks great.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Katy.
Of course.
You know what? I think right now we're all feeling so different about gathering. And I think that as we begin to gather with groups of, 2 or 3, I think it's important to think about why we gather. And Patio to Plate really is about nurturing. That's what gardening is. Gardening is about nurturing and bringing these beautiful flavors to life. And I think that when the similarities between chefs and those who garden are so many. I mean, I think that that's what Gardenuity is all about. Gardenuity is about nurturing this garden so that you can enjoy it and have it be part of your whole nurturing aspect. You're nurturing something that's good for you and good for others. And that's why I think we all cook. Most of us cook to nurture others. And I think that that's such a beautiful similarity with Gardenuity. And Gardenuity really, as Doug mentioned earlier, is about making growing easy and accessible. So behind me, I've got a couple of gardens. I've got Some Like It Hot, which is our new garden for Father's Day that has some peppers in it. And over here, I've got taco toppings, and it all comes in one box, and you have the whole garden set up literally in about 30 minutes, and we send these beautiful pepper plants. But what's more important, I think, is how you incorporate these gardens into your everyday. So right here, I've got my Some Like It Hot garden. And as we were getting ready to create those cocktails, I realized there's a jalapeno ready to harvest. And when you bring people together, it's really fun to let them be part of the entertaining and part of the experience. So it's really fun to go right over as you're making a cocktail, harvest a fresh pepper that you're going to cook and use in a cocktail, because I think not only does it evoke conversation, but it also evokes this feeling of, I grew that. And I grew that feels so good. So whether it's this cocktail garden that we have.
Probably the first time I've done that.
Well, it's thrilling. I mean, it's really, and I think that that's one of the things that's really come out so many people are at home and so many people are gardening. And I think a couple things have happened. I think it makes us all have this great appreciation for farmers markets, right? For those who grow for others and make it easily accessible. But when you get to grow something and you nurture it all the way to where you're going to share it with friends, then I think the flavors are more robust. And I think for us, we'll think about what we're going to cook based on, you know, what we walk out to the patio and see growing. So if we walk out and we see a plethora of spinach growing, we might cook something with spinach. Or if there's a whole bunch of peppers and tomatoes, I think that what the garden presents can be what you created at home for your family or for your friends. And I think that, as you know, when you cook, ingredients are so important, and so is technique. But I think ingredients make all the difference. And that's how it is with gardening. You know, it's about the components that come together. And when they come together and you get to participate in its growth, I think it comes alive. And I think that's what I call patio to plate. It's those entertaining moments. It's those little details. You know, I loved looking around and seeing people make second and third margaritas. We've got friends over tonight, somebody who has been growing with Gardenuity since we started. And it's really fun to be able to share those kind of moments with others. Just like when you cook for others. When you garden, you get to garden for others. But what you get back is tenfold. You know, if you let your garden nurture you and you let yourself be present when you're cooking, I think that's where we all need to be right now. And I think that you have just made 2 recipes that now seem easy for everybody for a Saturday night. And I think turning that salad into, putting it in a tortilla and turning it into a taco, however you want to eat it.
There's also,
I think putting it on chips.
It's great on cut fruit. This was the other thing I was going to say. These are a really fun, entertaining thing to do, is just a fresh cup. I've got mango, pineapple, and watermelon. And you can just drizzle the vinaigrette right on top. And that's a great kind of entertaining thing that you can do. You can also take the vinaigrette and put it on like a cold pasta salad or a cold quinoa salad with vegetables. There's lots of different things that you can do with this vinaigrette, but you know, like any vinaigrette, it does really well with salads, pastas, fruit, anything.
Well, and right now put some basil in it, because basil grows and grows and grows. And it's hard to find enough uses for all the basil we have growing. But you know what, today has been such a great gathering of ideas, but it's also a gathering of friends. As I look at the screen, I see that people have gotten together, and that's the beauty of growing good things and letting the I grew that moments be part of what you do every day. You've made 2 recipes simple, just like we've made 2 gardens simple. And I think the farm partners we work with would be absolutely thrilled to know that their pepper plants and herb plants have found these forever homes across the country, and they're going to be used patio to plate. So thank you so much. And Doug, are there any other questions?
There was just 2 quick questions I want to hit on. One for Katy and one for you. Katy, how long does the salad dressing last for?
I usually keep it in the fridge for about a week, about 7 days. It probably could go a little bit longer, but I am not a big keep leftovers around for a long time type. My mom would probably keep it in the fridge for 2 weeks and it would be fine. But I would probably say up to 7 days.
Perfect. And Donna, one quick question for you. You just harvested the pepper there. How long did you kind of wait for that to grow? And any advice on kind of harvesting peppers fresh? And also any recommendations on harvesting herbs fresh?
Absolutely. And actually, I just realized I've got nasturtium in here, which is a great addition to that salad. It's a new thing I'm growing this year, and it's really terrific and tasty. My Some Like It Hot pepper garden has been growing for about 4 weeks, so the pepper was pretty small. Peppers normally take 60 to 70 days to fruit to be able to harvest. We actually, when we send our pepper plants, They've been growing for quite a few weeks with the farm partners that we work with. So they've got a really beautiful root system. So it might be a little sooner, but like cooking, it matters with the different ingredients, how the end flavor comes out. And that's how it is with gardening. So depending on if our friends in, Hampton, Virginia don't have a lot of sun this week, but we've got a lot of sun with our people growing in Denver, things are going to ripen at a different age. So it's about experimenting, and it's about enjoying the process. As I always say, just because you have a Peloton doesn't mean you reap the benefits unless you get on it. You don't reap the benefits of growing great things unless you actually participate and get your hands a little dirty.
Perfect.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Donna. Thank you, Katy. This has been great. Thanks for everyone following along, both on screen and who's dialed in as well. I'll be sharing this video in the next day or so. Thank you again, everyone. Cheers. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.